In 2026, games are bigger than ever. They're longer, louder, and more cinematic. And to be clear, that isn't automatically a bad thing. Modern games can feel like playable movies now, with big cutscenes and dramatic presentations. That's something older games simply couldn't do. But somehow a 1992 platformer still understands fun better than most of them. When I first saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it wasn't during a cutscene, it wasn't a big story moment, it was the half-pipe special stages. My sister was playing as Tails, the screen was spinning, the music was intense, and everything felt fast and dangerous. It felt triumphant. There was thrill, suspense, and mystery, not because the game told me to feel that way, but because it let my imagination fill in the gaps, and that moment stuck with me. No other game before or since gave me that same feeling in quite the same way. Sonic 2 starts in Emerald Hill Act 1. Right away, it feels more vibrant than Green Hill Zone. The patterns are more varied, the environment feels richer, but it's still familiar. Mechanically, it works like Green Hill, just faster and more refined. There are no tutorials, none are needed. You get immediate control, speed shoes appear early, loop-de-loops chain into more loop-de-loops. The game introduces its ideas through play, not explanation. At the core of Sonic 2 are two design philosophies: risk versus reward, and speed that you earn, not speed that's handed to you. You're encouraged to take risks, go faster, take the higher path, push forward, but there's always a cost. Miss a jump, lose your rings, get careless, lose your momentum. Speed feels powerful, but fragile. Some people might argue that Sonic 2 gives you speed by default. After all, the spin dash exists now, and the level design is more speed focused than the first game, but that only applies if you already understand how Sonic works. If you hand Sonic 2 to someone who's never played a Sonic game before, they won't blaze through it, they'll move slowly, they'll hesitate, they won't understand the pinball-like physics right away. Sonic 2 doesn't serve speed on a silver platter, it rewards familiarity and learning. Someone coming from Mario, for example, won't immediately grasp how to maintain momentum. That knowledge comes with experience. Sonic 2 expects you to learn, not just react. And I want to be clear about something. This isn't about saying modern games are bad. There are plenty of great modern games, but something did change along the way. A lot of modern games feel afraid you might get lost or frustrated, so they guide you constantly. Pop-ups, markers, tutorials stacked on top of tutorials. The experience is smoother, but it's also more controlled. Sonic 2 doesn't do that. It trusts you, it gives you control almost immediately and lets you experiment. You learn by doing, you fail, you retry, and you slowly get better. The game never stops to explain itself, it never interrupts the flow. And when things finally click, they really click. Progress feels earned, not managed. That trust between the game and the player is something we don't see as often anymore. It's not gone entirely, but it's definitely rarer. One of the biggest reasons Sonic 2 still sticks with people is the music. The hardware was limited. There was no room for massive orchestral tracks or layered soundscapes. Every note had to matter, and because of that, the music is catchy, rhythmic, and instantly recognizable. You hear a few seconds and you know exactly where you are. Chemical Plant, Emerald Hill, Casino Night. Each zone has its own identity, not just visually, but musically. That ties directly into the level design. The zones are distinct and readable. You always understand the space you're in, whether it's vertical, horizontal, fast, or more deliberate. The layouts guide you naturally, without arrows or instructions. That's why people remember specific stages instead of just saying the graphics were nice. You remember how it felt to move through those spaces, where you messed up, where you finally nailed a jump, where you found a shortcut. The atmosphere comes from everything working together: the visuals, the music, the physics, the pacing, nothing feels wasted, nothing feels like filler, everything serves the gameplay, and that's why these games stay with you long after you've put the controller down. So why does all of this still matter in 2026? Because these games are still playable, not just as curiosities, but as genuinely solid experiences. You can hand Sonic 2 to someone who's never played it before, and it still works. Retro games deserve attention because they represent ideas that are still relevant, focused design, clear mechanics, respect for the player's time and intelligence. They're also worth preserving, not just digitally, but culturally. These games shaped genres, they influenced developers, they set standards that are still being built on today, whether people realize it or not. And for younger players especially, there's value in going back, not out of obligation, but curiosity, seeing how much could be done with so little, understanding where modern design choices came from, and questioning whether all of them were necessary. This is the kind of content Davo Retro Gaming is going to focus on. Thoughtful looks at older games, honest discussion, appreciation without blind nostalgia, talking about what worked, what didn't, and why it still matters. And next time, I want to flip things around a bit. Next time, I want to look at games that didn't get it right, because sometimes failure is just as interesting as success. Sometimes you learn more from what went wrong than from what went perfectly, and that's where we're heading next. Thanks for watching.